Hello, I'm Don Ambrose. I'm a professor of graduate education at Rider University in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. I'm also the editor of the Roeper Review, which is a journal in the field of gifted education. And I do interdisciplinary theory development and research having to do with creative intelligence. My primary purpose has been over the last decade or so to import ideas from multiple disciplines to try to refine, extend our notions of creative intelligence. Because in my explorations of other disciplines, I kept finding people doing things in parallel with one another and not knowing about each other. And I also kept finding insights from these various disciplines that can help us think differently about creativity or giftedness. So the most recent project I've been working on is an analysis of 21st century trends and issues and their impact on creative intelligence. So Robert Sternberg, the leading psychologist, is working with me on the development of that project, and we are recruiting leading thinkers in the field of creative studies and in gifted education, and a few from general education as well, to provide their insights. And we're doing that through the use of a conceptual model that is helping us think about the 21st century. So I'm going to describe this model very briefly and try to help you understand how it might serve as a collector for ideas from these various individuals and from other disciplines. Imagine yourself walking along a rather barren landscape with hills off in the distance, and you are achieving success to the extent you can move forward on that landscape and climb those hills at the end of the process. That would be a society moving forward in the 20th century. Now project yourself ahead in a time machine to today's world, the early 21st century, and we're still walking along a similar landscape, but ahead of us, instead of seeing hills off in the horizon, we are seeing the ground rise up and turn into a gigantic wave that's moving toward us. And the wave has a trap underneath and a landscape on the top, high above. This is the wave of globalization, metaphorically speaking. And globalization is bringing with it enormous opportunities and enormous problems. I'm calling the problems macro problems because they are huge. They're huge in terms of being global. A macro problem is international because it cannot be solved from within the borders of a single nation. It's interdisciplinary because it cannot be solved from within the borders of a single academic discipline or professional field, no matter how much it seems to be confined to that field. And a macro problem is also long-term because it took centuries or decades at least to create. Examples of macro problems would be climate change, the growth of socioeconomic inequality within and between nations, resource shortages that are looming right now, and a number of others. So those big macro problems are on the underside of the wave, threatening to come down and crush us as we move forward toward the wave of globalization. Also underneath the wave, underneath the macro problems, is a rather miserable trap that I'm calling the Hobbes trap, named after the rather pessimistic philosopher from a couple of hundred years ago, Thomas Hobbes, who said that if humans are left to their own devices, they will create lives for themselves and for each other that are poor, nasty, brutish, and short. So if we move forward under the crest of that globalization wave without being aware of the extent and nature of these macro problems, those problems will come crashing down on us and destroy us in this miserable Hobbes trap. But fortunately, there are some options that don't involve our devastation or a major societal collapse. One of those options is to develop the creative intelligence necessary to make the leap to the crest of the wave. a rather discontinuous leap, because if we keep educating the same way we have in the past, or worse yet, if we follow the dictates of the misguided dogmatic school reformers who are trying to push us back to the 19th century, we'll certainly end up in the Hobbes trap. But if we can develop a new kind of creative intelligence, we may be able to leap to the crest of the wave where we will be able to capitalize on macro opportunities. And these are unprecedented opportunities generated by a number of 21st century trends, such as the integration of technology, new developments in biotechnology and nanotechnology, for example, and possibly most promising, the scientific networking of experts around the world. The recent president of the National Science Foundation, for example, said that the new form of doing science is international and interdisciplinary collaboration. The days of the individual siloed expert are diminishing and disappearing. So if we can get these experts together and sharing ideas, we may be able to generate new solutions to enormous problems. So these contributors from creative studies and gifted education and general education are going to, we hope, provide us some new insights about how we can invigorate education and resist the dogmatism of the current reformers to elevate ourselves to the crest of that globalization wave instead of being crushed underneath it in the Hobbes trap.